Welcome to TheSeireitei, a Bleach fandom community podcast brought to you by Tetris. Oh, wait, no, sorry, actually, hang on, Oh, okay, my bad, it looks so similar. Okay, that's on me. I just mispronounced D-Roy's teeth. Anyway, hi everybody. Hi, good to see you, so to speak. My name is Del, and today I am joined by Lethan.
Hi everybody.
Hi. We're being very ambitious today. Just the two of us together. We're gonna tackle 3 episodes, and I think that might be one of the first times we've actually done that. I think
so.
2 people, 3 episodes.
I think
Tight.
So.
Yeah. With that in mind, because it's another 3-fer, do we want to get rolling?
Yeah. So let's start off with episode 117 then. Rukia's battle commences, the freezing
Yes,
white blade.
please.
We start this episode with everybody's reactions to the approaching threat. Ichigo, who seems to have selective spiritual pressure sensing, asks Rukia if they're heading this way. Rukia informs Ichigo they seem to be targeting anyone with spiritual pressure. Knowing that Toshiro and Rangiku are close to Orihime to protect her, Ichigo and Rukia make their way to Chad, only to arrive just in time before Chad is impaled by the very hand of D-Roy. Rukia tells Ichigo he's too tense and she takes over the fight, unleashing her zanpakuto, Sudeno Shirayuki, and freezing D-Roy into a million glittering pieces that make for really cute souvenirs if they were sold in a local gift shop. Personally though, I think it was really nice of D-Roy to wait so long while Rukia explained everything it needed to Ichigo and the audience. Nice guy, may he R.I.P. While this is happening, Ikaku and Yumichika come across another Arrancar who refuses to introduce himself because he's not a nice guy. Ikaku introduces himself as a man who's about to kill him. Go Ikaku, teach this git some manners.
It's a literal rest in pieces for D-Roy, isn't it? 'Cause
Yeah.
he's a bunch of ice shards. Man, that should have sponsored our show. Whatever.
Yeah.
I guess teeth are still... I'm just gonna... Okay.
It's fine.
So we now get to episode 118, which is called Ikaku's Bonkai, the power that breaks everything. So it's a fight. This is a big fight episode between Ikaku Madarame, 3rd seed of Squad 11, and Edirad Leones, the Arrancar Trace, or 13, who doesn't actually give us his name here, but this is an episode recap, okay, so I'm gonna say this asshole's name. So, this is a pretty intense fight. Yumichika, who is watching nearby, explains to a very distressed-looking Keigo that Yumichika wants to let Ikaku handle this on his own because Ikaku is having fun. Things get pretty heated, but Edirad decides to take that heat to the next level by entering his release form, which we learn is a little different from the released form of a Soul Reaper Zanpakuto. Not to be outdone, of course, Ikaku himself goes Shikai. And then, not long after... goes Bonkai? Meanwhile, Grimmjow descends upon Ichigo and Rukia and practically one-hit KOs our queen. So, things aren't looking great for our heroes. And little of that is resolved in the beginning of episode 119, called Zaraki Division's Secret Story, The Lucky Men, because we drop right into a flashback. We see younger and far more ragged versions of Ikaku and Yumichika, who would definitely destroy me for saying that, roaming the Rukon district in an attempt to find people for the bloodthirsty Ikaku to fight. Soon enough, they come upon a sweet-looking, pink-haired child and her large, strong, powerful friend. This is, of course, Kenpachi Zaraki and his lieutenant, Yachiru. They fight, which thrills both Ikaku and Kenny to pieces, and in the end, Kenpachi hands Ikaku's ass to him, telling Ikaku to consider himself lucky that he's alive after this intense encounter. Ikaku resolves to find Kenpachi and one day defeat him, just as Kenpachi said Ikaku should. Ikaku and Yumichika soon learn that Kenpachi is, in fact, a captain in the Gotei 13, and they join his renowned rowdy 11th Division. We soon see Ikaku teaching Renji how to become stronger, and confirming that no one knows about his Bonkai, except for Renji and Yumichika. He keeps it secret, he says, because he doesn't want to be a captain. He'd rather die under Kenpachi's command. But as we jump to the future, or the present, rather, I suppose, it looks like Ikaku is shit out of luck on that front today, because Edgerod falls out of the sky, annihilated, and Yumichika, who, by the way, low-key made funeral arrangements for Ikaku mere moments ago, offers Ikaku his congratulations on surviving yet another fight.
Man.
Yeah.
My goodness, golly gosh, there's so much that's going on.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. Like, I don't know, man. I'm a sucker for a good fight. I really, really am. And it, like, this one is, well, whatever. We'll get there because that's the latter 2 episodes. But it's pretty straightforward, but I just think it's fun. I just think it's really fucking fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, like, I don't know how you and the audience feel, but I think, like, 2 episodes for a fight is perfect length. Like, that's long enough.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's any longer than that, unless it's, like, a big boss battle, you know,
right.
like the Soul Society versus, like, Aizen or something like that. Like, something like that I would expect to last way longer. But, like, for a regular fight like this, I feel like 2 episodes or something is about the right length.
Right, especially considering a big chunk of that second episode wasn't in situ. It was a flashback giving context for the fight. It wasn't just Ikaku wailing away at Edgerod for 50 minutes or something like that. There was variety in there. And we got to learn a lot. We got story, we got character, we got that intensity. I think it was a very well-balanced 2 episodes, which is also low-key. Like, every time there's that much flashback, I'm like, how much of this is canon? So I'm excited to see what the anime and manga differences are like for these 2 especially, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Oh no, am I gonna be so disappointed?
There might be a bit of heartbreak.
Is Yumichika still hot?
Ooh, we'll talk about it when we get there. We'll talk about it when we get there. Let's get episode 117 out the way then, because I feel like this one kind of stands on its own.
Okay.
I felt for Chad in this episode, like, when he runs up and he realizes now that Ichigo is just so far out of his league that he can't even help protect his friend. He can't even stand beside his friend in a fight anymore like they used to. And that just broke my heart a little bit, because I'd never really considered myself as a sort of big Chad fan, because Bleach has so many characters, and so many of them are really diverse, and Chad is a great character, but it was in this moment that I connected with him, where I was like, do you know what, I felt useless next to people before, like maybe somebody that I started working with and we started together, but I got pulled off to do something else, and this person developed all these other skills, and then when I came back I just felt like they were completely out of my league and I was playing catch up.
Right. Yeah, and I think it especially hurts in Chad's case because he and Ichigo are effectively trying to do the same thing, because when we first encountered Chad and learned what his history of his relationship with Ichigo was, it was about Chad protecting his friend.
Yes.
And now Ichigo and Chad are both trying to protect their friends, and Ichigo is just objectively better at it now.
Yeah, he's
from a
so
power
strong.
standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I felt for him. I just felt for him when that happened. I was like, oh. And the fact that obviously Ichigo arrives just in time before Chad is effectively just stabbed straight through the chest.
Oh, yeah, Chad would have been donezo. For sure,
for
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And that just shows you how, like, strong these Arrancar are for your sort of average, like obviously when Chad went to the Soul Society, we saw a little bit of it there when he went up against, Shunsui. Nobody too powerful or anything, just, the captain of the 8th.
Well, okay, but to be fair, we haven't seen him do much. We don't have a great read on how powerful he is. We know he's fucking old, but that's kind of all we know.
That is true. I suppose to become a captain, we would expect them to be
I guess we
a
saw him
certain
go
level of
Shikai
strength.
once. We've seen that at this point, but still.
Yeah.
Against Yamamoto. Okay, you know what? I take it back. At the very least, he seems to think he's got skills, which, fair enough.
Yeah, going up against Yamamoto of all people.
Casual, yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of the things you were talking about actually, like when we were talking about pacing and things in
Mm.
these episodes, this episode for me was thrown way off because of the
Really?
Rukia chatting about the bouts whilst Leroy's just
Oh.
standing there. He's just
You know what?
standing
I just
there.
ignored and blocked from my mind all of that.
Like, don't get me
Actually, I
wrong.
do have one note that says, "Oh my god, this retconning is garbage." That's the one note that I have about that. It's so bad.
It's so bad, but it totally throws off the pacing of the whole episode because now she's having to like backpedal and explain things. You know what I mean about her powers and when her powers came back and everything because obviously in the bout arc was non-canon, so there was a lot they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't show in that in the canon in the filler episodes. So her explanation in the anime was so much longer than it was in the
It was
manga.
so stupid. Oh
It
my
was so
gosh.
long. So
Was it like
yeah.
very straightforward in the manga?
Yes, it was literally like I got my powers back after returning to the Soul Society, being around my brother, and being in a place that's charged with Reishi, and that was like that was
Oh,
it. That was it.
she mentions Byakuya? Oh,
I'm pretty sure she does. Yeah, she was like
that's
when I go
so
back.
sweet.
So don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure she did. That could just be my
Okay.
imagination remembering a sweet moment though. But
Okay.
um, but yes, we get her returning back. That was it, and then it's like back into the battle really. But yeah, the anime
Yeah.
just threw the pacing way off with that.
Yeah. I'm glad we got some explanation, but the fact that it had to take a million years because they had to retcon so hard, like, it's not the only reason I hate the Bound arc, but, like, you're gonna run into that in just about any filler arc in a series where power ups are a thing, because people still have to do cool shit on screen during a filler arc, but you have to reset by the time the filler arc is over. So figuring out how that happens so people can still level up appropriately according to the canon story, such a challenge. And
Yeah.
I do think Bleach gets better about it as their filler arcs go on. The Bound arc does a rough job, yo. Like, super, super rough.
I just remember the bout arc, like, because obviously when I first started watching Bleach, I had no idea what filler. I didn't even know what filler was. I
Oh,
wasn't
me
big on
neither. I
anime.
fully thought everything was canon. It was also one of the first anime that I watched, and so I didn't really understand that filler arcs are like a regular thing that you sort of need to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, like, when I was watching the bout arc, that made me almost stop watching Bleach. Like, I got halfway through the bout arc and I was like, okay, I'm really bored.
My Ishida stan ass was invested, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've not gone back and watched it since, but I cared.
See,
And then I got bored eventually, but
the characters that I'd fallen in love with were all in the Soul Society. So, like, I
mm,
liked Ichigo and I liked Uryu, but I didn't like them enough that this season could hold my interest for too long. I liked all the characters that we saw in the Soul Society, and they're very rarely in this. But anyway, I digress.
yeah.
We get to
Right, we
see
don't need to
Rukia's.
spend a long time talking about the Bound arc. There's no point.
No point. No point. It just threw off the charge of this episode, I felt. But we got to see
Mm-hmm.
Rukia's Zanpakuto be
Yes!
released.
Yes! Yes!
Oh, it looks so
Oh,
good. The most
yeah.
beautiful
It
Zanpakuto
is.
in the Seireitei.
And like you get why. Like Rukia's never
Mm.
been one of my top tier faves, but that little shot of her in profile with her zanpakuto over her shoulder, just kind of blowing gently in the breeze.
Mm.
Oof. It actually is so so pretty. Like I understand that appellation. It's very nice.
It's a really beautiful Zanpakuto, especially when we compare it to a lot of the Zanpakuto that even when they're changed into their Shikai form, a lot of them still look the same, except for, I guess, Ukitaki's and Kuraku's. They had quite a significant
Ikaku? I mean,
difference.
not that we're there yet, but Ikaku's looks pretty different.
Yes, yes, that's
Mm-hmm.
true. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so I think this one, like just pure white, the beautiful ribbon, it was something really pretty about it. And I think what else I really liked about it is Rukia is like quite a modest character, isn't she? She's
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
your conventional kind of attractive. Like when you think of attractive Bleach women, you think like Rangiku or Yoroichi or, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but this Zanpakuto, I'm like, yes, she's like a modest kind of beautiful, and I'm like, yes, queen, I'm here for that.
And you know what? I'd never thought about it before, but because the Zanpakuto is a physical manifestation of, or excuse me, a physical manifestation of your true inner power, right? So it speaks to how beautiful Rukia is on the inside.
Oh, she's so cute. And how pure as well, I guess you could say, too.
I think purity is a social construct, but I know what you mean.
I guess. I didn't mean, like...
No,
Yeah.
Literally me neither. No.
Oh, bless her. But, yes, so... I love that. But also, like... Can we just, like, chat real quick about the whole, like, now we get confirmation that Byakuya is the reason why Rukia isn't a seated officer.
Oh, yes.
We got that this episode. And I've put a wee note there saying, how the feck does the Geekon know that?
That's a great question. Was that in the manga also?
Yes, it was, yeah. I'm like, how did they know that?
Yeah, That's tricky, because it's not like Kon just knew shit about Ichigo when he was in Ichigo's body.
That's what I was thinking, because I thought maybe it's when she takes the pill and it goes into her body, it gets all her memories and stuff, but then that wouldn't explain Kon.
No, not at all. Unless Ichigo actually is that ignorant about
everything.
Yeah. I don't buy that, though. I mean, there's, like, Rukia definitely knows more world-building-wise and context-wise than Ichigo does, but it's not like Ichigo knows nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it is just, like, kind of standard knowledge then amongst Rukia, and maybe, who knows, maybe she's quite close to this chappie.
Well, yeah, because
she's, her body.
I also wonder if you can, like, upload basic information, but that's not basic information. That's actually quite personal. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Yeah, and I get it was context. It was nice context for us as viewers. I was just wondering sort of where it came from, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that would have been better served maybe by something like a flashback, TBH. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice if Ukitake gave us that at some point.
He's not involved, though. Not right now. Oh, at some point. Not, like, right in the middle of this. I see.
Yeah. I mean, like either earlier or later on when we get more... Because there is a scene in the manga of Rukia and Ukitake, actually, that I'll be talking about later. And I'm just thinking, like, there's plenty of opportunity where those two together, that could have came up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not confused by the fact that at this point the anime didn't want to throw in more screen time of more characters because we have like 18,000 new Arrancar to get used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I certainly, like, I have thought, like, as a person who, because I've written, I don't know whether I regret this or not, but, like, I've written some, like, Ukitake x Byakuya fic in the past, and so, like, yes, there's, like, I've done the romance and sexy thing there, but I've also thought considerably about just their, like, I like writing about their relationship as, like, mentor-mentee and teacher-student and, like, older Shinigami, younger Shinigami, whatever, like, two people who are respected, and so I have thought to some extent about what that conversation was like, and then I also find myself wondering whether, as time went on, Ukitake's continued decision not to move Rukia up in the ranks was impacted by what happened with Kaya, and whether he's like, oh shit, like, I clearly cannot keep my subordinates safe in a meaningful way, so maybe Byakuya was right the whole time, which I mean, it might not be an accident that Squad 13 is still entirely without a lieutenant. Like, maybe the right person is right there, and Ukitake doesn't feel like he can make that move.
Yeah. Oh, it brings up so many. I just, again, I want to be a fly on a wall for every interaction between every character in Bleach. Like, just put me there. In the captain's meetings, I'll just watch. I don't care if they're talking silly things. Like, I just want to be a fly on the wall.
And genuinely, like, that's why that's the kind of fic I like to read so much. I love missing scene fic and, like, filling in conversations that we don't get to see on screen because, like you say, there are so many characters, and so they can't show us everything. It wouldn't be a good use of time, and it would fuck up the pacing once again. So I really like it when fic writers expand on things that it makes sense for us not to have seen, even though they must have happened. I really like that.
Yeah, agreed. Love stuff like that. The only other note I had for this episode was the vending machine says Bola on it, and I reached out to Shike because I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
is this a play on cola? And they just don't, like when movies and TV shows do
Yeah.
that thing where they change the Apple logo into a carrot or whatever.
Yeah, or like whatever they call the not McDonald's and Devil is a part-timer or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called, but it's just like, okay, we know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, so I reached out to Shike and I was just like, because he's not an expert, but he knows Japan more than me. And I was like, do you know if there's like a drink or something in Japan that has this name, or do you think it's a clever wordplay? And we're leaning towards it being a clever wordplay to avoid,
Yeah.
not copyright, but just to not promote something that they haven't been paid to promote.
Yep, fair enough. Mizuho's drinking soda at like 11 p.m. Girl. Not that we know who Mizuho is yet. Keigo just drops that name, and he's annoyed at someone for some reason. Stay tuned.
But yeah, that's it for me. So I don't know, what have you got from this episode?
Oh boy, what do I have from this episode? I'd highlighted the thing about the fact that Rukia has a better Gigai, and she like straight up called out Urahara for being like, okay, the reason my powers were so fucked up is because Urahara gave me a mad fucked up Gigai, and so now that that's not this, so like straight up she's like, this is Kisuke's fault, and it definitely was. So that's confirmed. That's fun. I think also this is one, so like D-Roy, who makes a pretty strong impression. Like, he's got a personality. He's got a distinct appearance. So Kubo took the time to give us an interesting, I like, not background character, but an interesting character who's here for a good time, not a long time, you know? And then Rukia just actually takes him down so quickly. Geez, I don't know exactly what I want to say here. I guess there's something to be said for the fact that while Arrancars are hollows, I think it's worth taking note of that distinction. Like, there is as much that differentiates the Arrancars from each other as there is that differentiates the Shinigami we've come to know and love from each other too. So they're I don't want to say special exactly, but this is some next level hollow shit that we haven't seen before. And I think each of these people who come to town with Grimjow, this little squad that may or may not have a name that we can tease out later, they're worth paying attention. I don't know. They're a serious threat because they're cool looking, because that's how Bleach works. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if someone looks cool, they're probably worth paying attention to. They're not just like,
the cooler they look,
the
bigger the threat.
Like, Kubo puts time and attention into his character designs, and it's clear that he didn't pull punches when it came to designing these Arrancars, you know?
Agreed, especially the one that goes up against Ikaku as well. But yeah, D-Roy is another one. I think all of them, you're right, all have kind of distinct looking features. The only one that I'm a bit like, about is the one that goes up against Rangiku. He's a bit, plain. But
oh, that person. Yep, I've got that name somewhere.
But
Xiaolong is the one who goes against Toshiro, and the other one is Nakim. That's it.
Nakim. There we go.
Nakim.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we don't get to see much, so we just know there are Arrancars chilling with Rangiku and Toshiro. We don't really get to see them do anything, these 3 episodes. They just kind of, like, show up. Yeah. Okay, well, in that case, do you have any other anime and manga differences for this episode?
I have a couple. So in the anime, Toshiro says, you've already lost, and in the manga he says, you've crapped out.
Oh, that's funny.
And
I like that so much more.
Right? The only reason I took a note of it, because usually if it's a small language change but means the same thing, I don't take note of it because I'd be there for weeks. But like this, I was like, that made me laugh. Oh. Yeah. So he's not afraid to swear, which is just even funnier.
Yeah!
Yep. In the anime, we get flashes of the Arrancar showing up to like Renji and Ikaku a lot earlier than we do in the manga. The manga holds it off for like a really cool point where we're getting a bit of exposition and we see the scenes, like the exposition is happening over the Arrancar
Okay.
appearing to the other Shinigami, and I just thought that the manga paced it nicer,
Sure.
whereas the anime just did it to draw out scenes to make it last a little longer. But
Right. So in the manga, did it seem like it was more simultaneous?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In the anime, we get the whole explanation about the bouts absorb Reshi, so can I. And I've put fuck off at the side of that. Yeah. And in the manga, she just says, I stayed in the Soul Society, which is overflowing with Reshi. In the manga, Chappie, the Gikongon, which is very hard for me to say,
That's okay.
keeps saying hop.
You can just say soul candy if you want to. It's
Yeah,
the same
okay.
thing. Yeah,
Soul
yeah.
Candy, yeah. Keep saying the word hop over and over and over again to the point it annoys Ichigo. So I think in the anime, Ichigo comments on her talking cute or talking in a particular way, but in the manga, it's why do you keep saying hop over and over and over again? Which I
Oh
thought was
boy.
which I thought was funny. And then in the manga, Froman, as he's affectionately dubbed, completely ignores Keigo. So in the anime, as he's running by Keigo, he stops for a bit of a chat. But in
Oh,
the
okay.
manga, he just runs completely past him, and that's it.
Okay. Uh, I guess that reminds me of one more thing that I took note of in this episode, which is
Go
just
for it.
that Keigo makes note, in the anime at least, that he's been seeing a lot of ghostly figures lately. So, even though Keigo seems kind of like a silly side character who doesn't do much, this is an indication that he's got some skills and some know-how buried somewhere. Even if it's not apparent at first glance.
Yeah. It's being around Ichigo, he's a charged battery, isn't he? His
I
static is
guess
just rubbing
so.
off of all of his friends.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, buddy. You gotta feel
Oh,
for him too a little, you know?
you do.
It's like, where did all his friends go? He probably literally doesn't. Of course, how could he know? He has no idea. How could he know? Well, he gets to be privy to a lot of unexpected content very shortly as he watches Ikaku fight Edirad, who I'm just gonna use his name the whole time, even though
Yeah.
he's a dick about that until the end. Like, and I understand why from a storytelling standpoint, because then it lets us go into Ikaku's past in that way and like understand why it's important to Ikaku to introduce himself to the people that he fights, and it's nice that we get to see him share that with Renji, which also, okay, skipping ahead like
Yeah.
an episode, the fact that Ikaku was training Renji for
Yeah.
so long and they like are in the same army, and then Ikaku at the end of this was like, oh, so like, I have Bonkai, that's just a thing, by the way, here's my name. Ooh, that's sequencing is a little silly there, IMO, but
Yeah, don't worry about it. The manga is not.
Oh,
It's
thank
corrected
God.
in the manga. I'll explain that when we do the manga and anime differences.
Okay,
But
good,
yeah.
because that's not a choice that I think makes loads of sense.
No,
Okay,
no.
fab.
It's very clear that Ikaku and Renji, in the manga anyway, when I was reading the manga, it's very clear that Ikaku and Renji are almost friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Almost
Ikaku is sort
friends.
of taking him under his wing to train him rather than in the anime
So
where it
just
seems
benefits, no
strange.
friends at this point. What?
I mean, I
You know
didn't
what?
say
It never
no.
occurred to me to ship that until literally right now, and I actually high-key love that ship.
Yeah, go for it. Knock
I'm
yourselves
sure that
out.
that's not like a super, super rare pair, but now I'm very curious.
Yeah, I wonder if there's maybe poly stuff out there with Yumichika, Ikaku, and Renji.
I don't know if I see Renji being attracted to Yumichika. Maybe. I mean, yeah. On principle, I don't understand anyone not being attracted to Yumichika, because I just think he's... Oh, I do really... Well, okay, right. I'll probably... I'm not gonna, like, go off about Yumichika, because I have nothing to go off about in these episodes, really, but I do really like that we get to see more sides of both Ikaku and Yumichika in both of these episodes, which I feel like for the most part, I feel pretty okay about sort of discussing 118 and 119 together, because
Yeah.
one feeds so directly into the other, even though the flashback content is all contained within 119. So I'm actually not going to talk about Yumichika first.
Okay.
I'm not even going to talk about Ikaku first. I'm going to talk about Edirad and that release, because You say that the pacing in these two episodes is not fantastic, and I agree, because we are thrown so much in episode 118, and then episode 119 really takes time to slow down for all of that flashback content. So I just kind of want to go through 118 a little bit and hit some key points that might have gotten lost in the shuffle. Not necessarily in order, but like maybe in order of importance as determined by me only and nobody else. I think it is crucial to discuss the way that Arrancar's release. I think that is a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
We know at this point that Soul Reapers release their zanpakuto. And like there is a direct object there, right? Like the zanpakuto releases, and that is a reflection of the Soul Reaper's power, but the Soul Reaper is still is a constant. It's the zanpakuto that changes, and yes, that can have bearing on the Soul Reaper's abilities, like some of them gain strength and speed and such when their zanpakuto release. But the zanpakuto is the thing that changes physically. We have yet to see a straight up Soul Reaper's body change in any meaningful way.
Yeah, because I think the closest we've got is probably Toshiro with his Bonkai, right, where the ice encompasses his body to some degree, but even then, his body still stays the same. It's just
well, because like I guess Renji gets a costume change, but even that's not the same thing. Yeah, so does Ichigo. Yeah, that's look at these two extra boys. That's so fucking funny. that's really funny. Like even because we saw Yumichika's Fujikujaku, right? Mm-hmm. We saw his like multi-bladed thing, or did we not?
We did,
when he was fighting Ganju. This bitch doesn't get a costume change, but Renji's like, no, I need that. So, I don't know. Anyway, not the point. The point is, the way that Edrad discusses his release is super different. So, and it is at this point that he deigns to give Ikaku his name, by the way. So, Edrad is discussing it seems like he's explaining it to Ikaku, but I wasn't bothered by that exposition, actually, because there's no way. It makes sense that this is information that Ikaku doesn't have, especially because Ikaku's coming at Edrad being like, oh, why won't you release your zanpakuto? Which is language that doesn't quite track for Edrad, because what he says is that in the case of an Arrancar, so, and some of this might be funky translation stuff. I'm going from the sub. So what the sub says is that the nucleus of the Arrancar's power is sealed within their sword. And so Edrad still calls on the name of his zanpakuto. He says, Awaken Volcanica. And after that, his body changes. And then he says, this is the appearance of my true self, and this form of my Volcanica is my true strength. So his sword does change, but his body changes too. So I think going forward, it does make sense, and this is language that we may start to see again and again, to say like an Arrancar's release or release form. That is a thing that makes sense. So a Shinigami's zanpakuto has a release, and an Arrancar themselves has a released form. That's a distinction that I wanted to draw, and I think it was explained kind of quickly, so I just wanted to get that out in the air and clarify it here, because it was a lot very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's similar but different, isn't it?
Right. Which is just kind of the thing in Bleach. Same but different.
and we've only seen one so far, haven't we? We've only seen this one. But
which is hilarious that's the first one we get. Like, this person, I mean, this is a person who's like in 2.5 episodes of this whole entire show, and they're like, oh, here's some big information. What?
Some really important information for us to know. So so at the moment, if we assume that all the Arrancar are similar to him, when he releases
Sure. And I think it's fair, too. Like, usually when we get an
fair.
explanation of a power like this, we can take it for granted that it's quite universal, unless someone says, hello, I am the special character exception that proves that... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there will be one at least. There's always one. But, yeah, I think if we take this as the same across all of them, he releases his zanpakuto, and it's almost like it's absorbed into him, isn't it? It's not... He doesn't then have a blade, correct me if I'm wrong. It then becomes a physical manifestation on his body rather than a separate unit. So if we take that, if we say that then when an Arrancar releases theirs, it gets absorbed in some way, shape or form into them, apart from maybe there might be an exception in the future, because there's always usually an exception to the rules, but for the most part across the board, that seems to be what he's saying. So I find that really interesting, that that's like the slight difference. Like, so Arrancars are hollows that became like, or started to become like Shinigami. So they separated their hollow part from them in the form of a blade that they then call upon to combine their powers once again to be really powerful. Right. At least that's how I'm taking it. Whereas your Shinigami
that seems correct.
Yeah, whereas your Shinigami, who's adopted hollow powers, maintains their sword as a separate unit, and when they call upon it, they don't call upon their sword, they call upon the mask. I just thought it was a really interesting kind of flip side, I guess, of the mirror. It's just it's interesting. It's just interesting.
Except I don't think, speaking of flip side of the mirror, I think the only people that we've seen fight whilst wielding both a mask and a blade, well, and Shinji too, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And if we're thinking about people who ostensibly have come from the Shinigami side of things. Shinigami powers first and then acquired hollow powers in some way. The two of them, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we've seen either of them attempt to... Ooh, maybe we have with Ichigo. Honestly, all of Ichigo's fights blend together in my head a little bit, and I'm genuinely sorry
Is it about him going Bonkai whilst having the mask on?
Oh, no. I wasn't going to say Bonkai. I was going to say Shikai even has... Because we certainly haven't seen Shinji go, if Shinji possesses this ability. Like, we haven't seen Shinji attempt any sort of release while he's wearing his mask and wielding his blade. I don't think... Have we seen Ichigo go Shikai?
In the fight with Byakuya, he can use his Shikai ability whilst he's in Bonkai form, can't he?
Right. Well, I feel like it's all just fucking Tensa Zangetsu, so honestly...
It is, all of it, yeah.
Because so in the fight with Byakuya, he'd released his sword first and then donned his mask, right? He wasn't, like, wearing his mask and then released in a new way.
Do we think that if he'd done it the other way around, would it make a difference, or?
I don't know. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Right. Whether it's about, like, which direction you're coming from first, whether it matters whether you are, like, base class Arrancar or base class Hollow, or excuse me, base class Shinigami or base class Hollow. Whether that then impacts the kind of release you're allowed to make, because we know that Edrad, like, if you're a Hollow first, if you think about it, like, your average Hollow doesn't have a blade. Your average Hollow fights with their body, with, tooth and claw and what have you. And your average Shinigami fights with a blade in some way. Yeah.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much these gaps bridge.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to see everyone's releases. They're so cool!
I want to see everybody's Bonkais.
Though, yeah. Oh, yes. They're always cool reveals. They're always very cool reveals. Okay, right. So, without beating that absolutely to a near death, I wanted to, let me see. Okay. Next up in some version of order of importance is Yumichika's little phone call back to Soul Society. Holy collateral damage, Batman. That's just so funny. Like, I think we've seen it before when people in Soul Society are duking it out. Like, especially, I'm thinking about, like, the Byakuya and Renji fight in Soul Society. Yo, so many buildings got absolutely leveled. And that was just fine, given the circumstances, I guess. So, here, we're in the world of the living. We're in Karakura Town. And when Edrad releases that big old blast of volcanic magma or fire or some combo of the two or whatever that just rips through the streets, Yumichika just, like, picks up his phone and he requests something called an area freeze. And Soul Society's like, yep, that seems fine. So Yumichika's like, yep, several souls in the area might get wrapped up in this. So, cover the collateral damage from our allowance. It is so funny to me that Soul Reapers going into the world of the living have a particular, so it makes, like, they have a per diem or something, I guess, but then the fact that they're like, oh shit, like, we're gonna need to do some memory reconstruction and rebuild a bunch of fucking houses, take it out of our allowance.
Yeah.
They have protocol for this. How many times has shit like this gone down? How many buildings have been leveled in the world of the living because Soul Reapers can't fight in an orderly way? Wild to me.
That's so funny.
So wild. Yeah, I just think that's great. And then, geez. I mean, I guess I'll get a little bit more into this when we get into episode 119, but I think that the friendship between Yumichika and Ikaku is just really cool. Like, that explanation that Yumichika gives to Keigo about why he can't intervene because this is Ikaku's happy place, and helping his friend isn't even a turn of phrase that makes sense to Yumichika in this context. Mm-hmm. And so, as part of that friendship, he's like, my buddy wants to die under Zaraki, so just in case, let's make funeral arrangements, because that's the service I can do. It's not stepping in to intervene with this fight to make sure he lives. It's making sure he gets a hero's send-off. Ouch. I love it. I love it a lot. I have one more thought about this episode, and then I'll be all squared away, which is it's like a throwaway mention that I think just gives insight into relationships among squads. So early on, when Ikaku is fighting Idrad, Ikaku's like, oh, you made me lose 2 of my teeth? And then he just tosses out casually, he says, like, it doesn't matter, I'll get Akon to make me some cheap replacements later. So, I don't remember how many times we've seen Akon either in a panel or on screen. That's that, like, dark-haired guy with those tiny little horns from Squad 12. And so, I just think it's lovely that Ikaku, without even missing a beat, is able to be like, oh yeah, I'll just go to that dude from Squad 12, and it feels like he's made Ikaku replacement teeth before, and I love that dynamic. I think it's really fun. If Squad 11 is constantly getting completely fucked up, which, yes. And then Squad 12 is like, okay, well, here you go. I think that's actually really lovely.
What is it this time? Fingers and toes fine?
Yeah. Well, because Lord knows Squad 12 knows how to, like, manufacture body parts.
They've manufactured completely Nemu, haven't they? That's already been told.
Yeah.
He was like, I made her. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I had some notes for this episode then. I loved the correlation of how, like, happy and excited Ikaku is for a battle, just like Kenpachi. I really liked that little contrast between the two of them. And the Arrancars, I really appreciated, what was his name? Edrad,
yeah. Edrad Leonis.
I really liked his explanation of battle and battle style. And why Ikaku's style was unique and really reckless, because for somebody like me that doesn't, I have never partaken in a battle before, funnily enough. I've never
you don't throw hands on the regs? What?
No, and despite the fact I am Scottish, I have never picked
I was gonna
say! Playing into those stereotypes, I don't have much experience handling swords. I have picked swords up in things before because I am Scottish, but I have never used them, and I have never used them against an opponent. So, like, this whole explanation of, like, why Ikaku's style is reckless is really appreciated to somebody like me, because it was helping me understand why he was fighting the way he was, and then understanding this Arrancar's point of view in the sense of how he's feeling about it. Where he's like, that was fucking stupid. Like, why did he's not fighting for, to overcome his enemy. He's fighting for sport. And it was really, I just thought it was a really good moment to get, and it helped me bond with that character actually as well.
Yes.
I'm going to have a tiny mini rant in a second before we end.
Oh,
but...
send it. I'm all set for this episode, so yeah, go off.
Well, let me just cover a tiny little point first of all, right? Ikaku was bleeding above his eye. Where was his ointment? We know he keeps his ointment in the bottom of his sword. He can
Yeah, that's a good point.
Use it, and he didn't. I was like, did Ichigo use it all? Did you not get any more? Like, anyway, it's fine. It was just something I took a note of.
I imagine he didn't have time to pause and do that, maybe?
Yeah, maybe he felt between him and Ichigo he could.
Or, alternate suggestion, aesthetic.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It looked cool.
It looked cool.
One of my little nitpickies, it really bugged me that, like, we only saw Rukia just release her power, only to get completely wiped out by Grimmjow. And I get that it's, like, to show us how...
I agree.
How strong Grimmjow is, I get that. And obviously she got hurt really badly trying to protect Ichigo by calling out to him. But I'm like... It just, like, it's really annoying. It's like it was like that just happened. We just got to see her win one fight just so that this other one could come in and be like, well, look how strong he is.
Yeah.
It was a bit shit. It was poor taste. Very poor taste.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tricky because they did need to make it clear that Grimmjow was the adversary that they needed to be careful of the most. Grimmjow is the ringleader here, and he's the strongest. And so I'm just trying to think in my head about how else they could have communicated that. I mean, you know what?
It could have went straight for Ichigo.
I suppose so. Or it could have been like a proper fight, like Rukia. Like, can you imagine if there were like a Rukia versus Grimmjow fight, like a full-on?
That'd be cool.
Wouldn't that be sick?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh.
But yeah, but look, we know that this is something I always have to caveat Bleach with whenever I'm bringing Bleach up to friends who are feminists or identify as being women. I have to usually caveat it with it's not kind to its female characters on the most part. It's not.
It's not.
But if you want good female character building written by men, Avatar: The Last Airbender is always my suggestion.
Yeah.
But anyway, other than that, I digress. I was just a bit annoyed. Well, I do the manga and anime differences because there's not many for this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So Ikaku and the Arrancar fight for way longer in the anime. Like, the anime drags some things out, as it does. In the anime, Yumichika says that's a risk each of us takes when fighting. But in the manga, he says he'll die happy. So it's like it's implying that he's going to be happier about the situation in the manga more than he was in the anime. And there was a few dialogue differences here and there too, but none of them were like really different or funny enough for me to take note of other than those two. So that was really it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sweet. Great. So, I feel like episode 119, while it offered a lot of insight and a lot of context, was very story-based. And as such, I don't have too many points of significant interest here. Other than, let's see. I guess... Yeah, I'm looking through and it's kind of like all of it is just acknowledging stuff that was said in a pretty straightforward way. So we have it confirmed that while we as the audience know that Ikaku has his Bonkai, that is something he's actively looking to keep secret. We know why. It's because he doesn't want to become a captain, because he wants to serve under Kenpachi. And it's clear that in that fight, which is quite cool, like that scuffle between I call it a scuffle probably because there was like a clear winner the whole entire time, like Kenpachi going up against raggedy street ass Ikaku from the Rukon, which they're both from the Rukon district as well, so they're both not from like the Seireitei, they're both from outside the Seireitei is what I mean by that. Like, in what world was Kenpachi not going to hand Ikaku's ass to him, you know? Like, it's established that he's a super, super strong guy, and Ikaku is this up-and-coming upstart. Yeah. And we just, so, I think that's all I have to say. I like this episode. I think tonally it's something I really enjoy. I'm also a sucker for the mundane, and so just seeing, and like there's something about the sunset tones. So watching Ikaku and Yumichika walk together through the streets wearing clothes that we're not used to seeing them wear is just really satisfying to me, even if there's not much to talk about other than to say, "Hey, I really like this."
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I do think it's cool that when Kenpachi walks into the Squad 11, like that training room and gives a little speech to all of, it seems like a lot of newer Squad 11 recruits, especially because a couple of those guys, like, didn't know who Yachiru was. He says straight up, like, I don't care what your personal history is. I don't care what your personal creed is. I don't care where you come from. Everybody is welcome here. I'm not going to ask those questions. Just show me that you're strong and you've got a place in Squad 11. So even though, like, Squad 11 maybe up to now has had a reputation for being silly or too bloodthirsty or kind of like one thing, that's actually a really cool precedent to set. I think it allows for, like, you can be whoever you are and do whatever you want as long as you are serving your squad in the one way your captain asks. I do really like that, actually.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Can we just give special shout out to the fact that it was Kenpachi that told Ikaku that he was lucky, and ergo that's where the lucky dance came from.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and that's why, yes, it's the episode's called The Lucky Men. And yeah, and that, like, that it does come full circle, right? Like, that whole thing of, oh, you survived a fight. Like, it's not ideal, but consider it a stroke of luck. And so you see that when Ikaku is downed by Kenpachi, and then at the end of this episode, once again, after Yumichika has been like, oh, we should make funeral arrangements, and Ikaku considers himself lucky once again for having survived this encounter with Edrad. So, yes, it's very nice.
Lucky guy. The only notes I had, the stuff we've already spoken about, was seeing like the time spent between Renji and Ikaku. I quite liked the fact that those two had a friendship, and there was a really cute parallel scene I want to draw in the audience. I don't know if anybody else picked this up, but when Kenpachi is about to fight the Hollow, and then he gets stopped by Yumichika and Ikaku. It's the exact same scene that we see when they both step in when he's about to go up against Shuhei, Kamamura, Tozan, etc. Like they
really
step
cool
in.
point.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I just thought that was super cute.
Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot.
And that was it. The rest is manga and anime differences.
Yeah, great. I mean, go for it. I don't think we need to, like, go on about something that there's not a lot to go on about, you know?
Okay. I'm going to preface this by saying the majority, if not most of this episode was filler.
I'm 0% surprised. I am, however, disappointed. I knew it was coming. I was like, there's no way.
Anyway, the manga gives us at the very end, because this was like sort of between two volumes. It was between volume 23 and volume 24, and at the end of volume 23, we got like these little mini comics, I guess, of like a tiny little turn back the pendulum type feel for Ichigo and Rukia.
Whoa.
Where we get 10 pages of Ichigo being kind to ghosts. This is before he got his powers, and feeling really helpless. Like, he knows that something's going on, and he feels helpless and powerless. Like, he shows up with this little aeroplane for a ghost boy, and the boy's not there anymore, and it's this older ghost that's there, and he's like, yeah, the boy isn't here anymore, and Ichigo's like, he can smell blood, and there's blood splots on the ground.
Oh,
and it's just him wishing that he was stronger, because he knows that something's going on, but he can't do anything to help them. And then immediately after that, we get 5 pages of Rukia getting told that she's going to the world of the living, from Kaione. And then when she's a bit apprehensive about it, Ukitake comes in, and helps explain the situation. And there's such a cute little like panel of Ukitake and Rukia, and it's so cute. And he comes to see her off, which is super adorable. He also asks her if she's told Byakuya, and Rukia says no, she didn't want to bother him with it. She thought it was too trivial to bother him.
I'm calling BS on that. I think she didn't want him to worry.
Well, I think, because obviously when we see the flashback in her mind, he's got his back to her, so this is before he would ever look at her. So I think you're right. I don't think that was why she didn't tell him. I think she didn't tell him maybe because she's almost a little bit intimidated by him as well, and so the less time she spends in his company, probably the better she feels.
Right.
So, and I think Ukitake picked up on that too, because we see him sort of looking a little sad, like he can read right through. Yeah, he can see right through it. Yeah. And so he says to her that he'll tell Byakuya on her behalf after she's gone. Which is super cute.
I think so. So. He's sort of he's like, because he of course is not. He understands that it's too hard for her, so he's like, I can take this on. I don't mind doing that for you.
Oh, he's so cute. Then we get 4 pages of Renji getting his promotion, and it gets presented to him by Momo, actually. And
because he was former Squad 5, wasn't he?
Yes.
Oh,
so
yay!
Really cool. And then we get Ikaku sitting there, like at the entrance door to the barracks, whilst Momo is presenting him with his badge and everything, and it's very formal. And Ikaku says to Renji, and I've got the pages here because it's a lot and I couldn't be bothered writing all of it down.
Okay.
He says, I'm happy for you. This means you're one step closer to Byakuya Kuchiki. Don't you think it's about time you told this girl Rukia? ? She may be from a noble family, but now that you're an assistant captain, you're practically equals. And then Renji says it's been 40 years, isn't it? He said it's been 40 years, isn't it time you talk to her? You'd better hurry. Rukia is leaving for a month-long assignment to the world of the living this afternoon, so that's said by Kira.
Oh.
And
wow.
he's beside Momo when Momo's presenting all this, and then Momo says
probably not great. What?
And then Momo says, come on, Renji, let's go, quickly. And then Renji says, no, the appointment ceremony isn't for a month anyway. I'll surprise her with it when she gets back. And then we just see Rukia walking through the doors to the world of the living, and that's it. But I thought it was really interesting.
How nice that he's got that faith in her as well, that she's gonna come back, even though this is very dangerous.
Exactly. So he had no doubt in his mind about it, but the fact that they hadn't spoke for 40 years, the fact that he seems to be trying to reach her, he's been away doing all this training, all of this stuff just to try and get on par with the level that she's now achieved since becoming a Kuchiki. And the way that Ikaku worded it, if these two have got a friendship that I'm assuming that they do, the anime didn't make it feel like it, but the manga definitely does. If you've been training somebody for that long, they know very intimate things about each other. And I think that maybe Renji potentially has opened up to Ikaku about his feelings for Rukia. That was how I was reading that.
This is a nice time, given, as we're thinking about Renji pursuing things. Do you know what the especially the Shirayuki part of Rukia's zanpakuto's name means?
No.
Well, it means white moon.
Oh.
So Renji's got a thing about chasing moons, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Rukia is one of the symbols of the moon in the whole of Bleach, really, isn't she?
Oh yes, absolutely.
When we first see her, she's silhouetted by the moon.
Mm-hmm. And that's definitely not an accident.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that was it. So almost all the scenes of Ikaku and Yumichika are filler. We don't even get to see Yumichika in any of the flashbacks in the manga.
How very dare they?
I know. I knew that. When you were like, is he still attractive? I was like, maybe.
Means yes. He's of course. God.
Yep. Yes. And in the manga, we don't get to see the fight between Kenpachi and Ikaku. Effectively, the flashback picks up from the end of the fight. So Kenpachi walking away and Ikaku begging him to kill him. And then that whole bit is in the anime, is pretty much is still in the manga. The scenes of Kenpachi taking the squad, or taking over the squad when he walks in with Yachiru and that's all filler. The whole scene of the squad fighting Hollow is also filler. Ikaku teaching Renji to fight is only mentioned in the manga, it's not shown.
Okay.
And in the anime mentions, like, in the anime, it's like Ikaku's like, okay, now you can have my name, and the next time we fight to the death. That is not in the manga. In the manga, it's
Okay.
much more implied that Renji and Ikaku have, like, gotten a bit of a friendship over the time that they've been together.
Nice. I can also see those two guys, like, actually bonding over saying, like, oh, we're gonna kill each other, ha 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 ha. Like, that tracks for me.
Yeah. So that whole, because I thought when the anime was like, okay, now my name is Ikaku, now I've changed it, I was like, why wouldn't you have given your name way before? Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
get it's
weird.
because of that whole, like, no, next time we fight, I'm going to kill you, but that wasn't even in the manga, so why are you saying that?
Well, okay, so then the question that arises for me is, how does Yumichika know Ikaku's name?
Yeah, right? If he only gives it to the people he plans on killing, then how the
Yeah.
fuck does Yumichika know it?
Little death, perhaps? What?
Yeah.
Um.
Imagine that he tells all the captains you're not allowed to tell anybody else my name unless I'm going to kill them. So it's just like this
God.
unnamed warrior from Squad
Just
11.
keeping secrets arbitrarily is Ikaku's whole deal, I guess.
Oh gosh,
Jeez.
it's funny.
Wild. Don't tell anyone I have Bonkai, goes Bonkai above the sky where he's very, very visible. He's so silly. But like in a way that I find very charming, actually.
So yes, and that is everything.
Yeah. I suppose the only thing that I would say then is knowing how much of that was filler. This is an instance where I think the anime, because it's clear, there's so much filler in just from a sheer time standpoint in this episode, right? So,
Yeah. I'd say about 70% of it is filler.
Yeah. So, given that, they were clearly like, okay, so somewhere along the way we're like waiting for chapters to release, and so we've got to pop some of this in here somewhere. This was a really successful use of what could otherwise have been some pretty dead air time, I feel like. Like if you're going to slow things down or inject non-canon content, I guess it circles back around to what I was saying about fanfic authors filling in missing scenes and stuff. This felt like a way to do it that still kept me invested. Like it was slower paced, but I thought it was nice. I wasn't bored, and I didn't think they were dragging things out, and I didn't think it was too extra or anything like that. It was a successful use of time that kind of had to be filler, I feel like.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I liked the pacing of it. I thought they got the pacing of this episode.
Yeah.
It was nice to take that step away from the battle and get that slow right down. It was quite nice.
Yep, very much so. Cool. Anything else to say for any of these episodes at this point then?
I guess one last thing that I didn't really call too much attention to, but Rukia and
Okay.
Renji act the exact same way when they're in the presence of other people that are a quite like higher status in them. They were both bowing, so Rukia bows deeply to Ukitake, and then Ukitake tells her there's no need to be so formal, and then Renji bows really deeply to Momo, and Momo says the exact same thing, like word for word as Utake.
Do we know whether Momo comes from a noble family or not?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't, because like we see her with Toshiro, don't we, and Granny, and their flashbacks.
That's right. No, she's not from a noble family then, is she? Because she's, unless, you know what? I don't know. I want to speak on that because I don't know if Nomi were here, she would totally know. But yeah.
We'll leave that question for Nomi when Nomi comes back.
Yeah, I am gonna look that up super quickly. The reason, because what I'm thinking right now is, so we know that Rukia and Renji both come from the Rukon district, and so both of them are defaulting to extreme formality and etiquette. Ukitake, while he doesn't come from like a big deal noble family, like he was born in Soul Society, and was born to some degree of nobility, and so I wonder if it's just like he's been surrounded by that his whole life, and now that he's a captain, he's like, you don't have to, like it doesn't mean as much to him because he's had it his whole entire life. Okay, Momo grew up in Junrian, which is the first district of the Rukonkai, so Momo is not a noble person. Okay, whatever. That's fine. I was like, oh, maybe both of them are just not into formality because they've had formality for forever. But no, Momo's from the Rukon district, so scratch that theory. Or rather, no, I don't know about scratch that theory. Like, I
No.
feel like that still tracks for Ukitake, but it just means that parallel doesn't exist. So, whatever. Anyway, yeah. That's all I've got. Yeah. Do we have anything for delving into the Dongai this week?
Yeah,
or not
I think
quite?
I think it's just like more characters being added to Bleach Brave Souls, but other than that, nothing really. Nothing big.
All right, cool. Fun times. Sick. Great. Let's move on to Shinigami Cup, Peroxide Edition. Lethan, who do you feel wore it best this week?
Shout out to D. Roy's look of terror whilst being murdered by my queen.
Nice. I need to issue a change. I once said that the answer to who wore it best is always Shinji. I reserve the right to say that it's in any given episode, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, it is either Shinji or Yumichika. So, who wore it best? I don't care if it's filler. Get that ponytail, queen. Yumichika wore it best this week. Always, forever. Yup. So, yes, going forward, if I say someone else, the true answer is that it's either Yumichika or Shinji. Always. All the time.
I'll remember
all the
that.
time. They're just so lovely. Well, and in different ways. Like, Yumichika's just so genuinely beautiful to me, and Shinji has just got so much swag and style, so they tease out different aspects of wearing things best. But yes, that is my answer. Yumichika wore it best this week, and that's just the way things are. Best ship?
Okay. So I've got two, but I have to give a special shout out to one of them. Special shout out to Toshiro and Rukia, because they're both ice type zanpakuto. We don't get to see much screen time between them, but I just wanted to call that out, that like, they're my ice bubs. I love them together as a ship. They're one of my ultimate ships. But ultimately,
Nice.
the main winner of this week's ship for me was Rukia zanpakuto and my eyeballs, because damn girl.
Ooh, I like that. Mine is not dissimilar, sort of. I said Rukia and her Soul Reaper powers reunited at last.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, and finally, double take.
Okay, so I've gone for the shading on Grimjow and Ichigo's panels when they first lay eyes on each other. That is then followed by a beautiful full-page spread of like a bunch of the characters, including Rukia and things, with guns instead of zanpakutos, and they're in like really cool dresses and like they just look awesome. And that's the page spread for chapter 204 if anybody wants to go and look that one up.
Oh, sick. Oh, cool. Thank you for that. My double take moment comes from a moment that is apparently filler. So this is actually going back to the first of the 3 episodes that we discussed today. The bit where you're like, oh, Zanosuke Kurumadani doesn't really stop to talk to Keigo. So there is and I think it makes sense that this was added. It's just so absolutely silly. So in the anime, they have this conversation where it's clear that like initially, like I guess Kurumadani has like fed Keigo some lie about shooting a samurai film nearby or something. Because Keigo's like, oh, are you shooting today? And so that's how I took that. But so he's getting the soda, Keigo is, and Kurumadani runs away, and Keigo takes a second to like reflect on that, and then he like sort of follows Kurumadani with his eyes, and he's like, come to think of it, I've never seen the TV show this guy is on. And I'm like, bitch, that's because you're on the same show. Of course you can't see it. You're on it. So I don't know if that was the intention, but I was like, oh, what a stupid meta joke. I really like that.
That is really good. I didn't even think about that. I'm so glad you pointed that one out, because that went right so over my head.
But I just thought, whatever. Maybe that wasn't what they meant, but
it must have been.
That's how I took it. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
All right, sweet. What is your fandom shout out this week?
Okay, so because I've mentioned them briefly, Rukia and Tushiro, it was not a ship that strikes you when you first think about it, right? Until you really start to think about it. But this was an art piece that when I originally saw it, I was like, yeah, I can get on board with this. And it is very hard to find the artist for this one. So this is like a very famous piece of Hitsuruki art that has been shared across like all the fandoms. But the artist is Homaki, Homaki, on DeviantArt. So the link for them will be appearing for everybody else in the description that we have, or show notes down below, but for yourself, Dale, I'll pop it in the chat.
Seireitei.
And I just think it's really cute.
Aww.
And it is when Toshiro grows up, and it's when he gets taller than Rukia.
Yeah.
There is a bit of a spoiler in there, and from
yeah.
Rukia in particular, that I do need to make people aware of. But yes.
Oh, this is very sweet. Oh,
it's very cute.
I like this
and it
a
isn't
lot.
like
he really does look grown up here.
It isn't like a proper ship thing. It really is. In fact, there's nothing there at all that would say that this is romantic. It's just an interaction between the two of them that I think is so cute.
I will also say, like, stylistically, and it could be the combination of short sleeve Hawari and scarf, and that's all that's doing it for me. Like, Toshiro is kind of styled like Byakuya a bit.
He is actually a little bit, yeah. I can see that.
Aww,
I just think he looks really handsome.
He does look very handsome, actually. Yeah. Mine is, okay, so y'all know that I just fucking love it when characters wear clothes that they don't usually wear. Like, I just think that's a fun thing, and I've shared art of that before. Here's another one for you. This is Ikaku and Yumichika wearing like 90s sportswear. I just think it's really soft and lovely. So this is a piece from Medlilove on Tumblr, and they do a decent amount of Bleach fan art. And it's not all Ikaku and Yumichika. Like, there's one, if you scroll down a little, that's like their rendering of Rangiku kind of missing Gin at the end of the first season. There's some Ichigo and Ishin stuff. There's some Kenpachi and Yachiru stuff. And it's like, mostly it's not super shippy. It's just like cool interpretations of these people in various relationships with each other. Not romantic relationships, just like they do a good job of like, this image is a snapshot of the way these people interact. So yeah, recommend scrolling through their shenanigans and like follow, or like if you figure out what their art tag is when you go to their Tumblr kind of thing, that's it's just like my art. So if you go there and then filter by that tag, you'll find some cool stuff. It won't all be Bleach, but yeah.
I love that. I love the jacket.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It's very brightly colored.
Yeah.
Yumichika has like, I love a good polo shirt anyway. He's got this lovely, like, tipped polo buttoned up all the way with a turtleneck underneath. Mm-hmm. They just look nice. Like, I could see them actually wearing these things.
Yeah.
I also have like a sort of bonus fandom shout out, which is it's not actually fandom, it is official content, but it's something that I want to make people aware of, because it's just really good. This is a recording of like a character song, but it's 4 characters. This is like an official Squad 11 4-character song, and it just makes me so fucking happy. It's called We, and it's just sung by all of the voice actors so it's Kenpachi, Hachiru, Yumichika, and Ikaku, and some of you might be aware of this already, and some of you might not be. Lethan, you can listen to it whenever, but it's just like, this was this was my alarm to wake me up through all of college.
Oh, I love that.
It was just I'd be like, oh yeah, it's okay to wake up this morning because this song is playing. It's just really nice. Some of them are great singers. Some of them are not. Doesn't matter. They're clearly happy to be here. So, not fandom, but I was like, I want people to know about this if they don't already. So
love it. I will definitely include that in the show notes as well.
For sure. Great, cool. So that's it. That's what I've got this week.
Love it. Oh, I'm excited to listen to that now.
Yeah, it's short. It's genuinely short and genuinely, like, short and sweet, but like in the sense that like, no, it actually is so sweet. They're just like Let them rest, let them play, let them have a nice time. It's so fucking wholesome. Ugh. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say before we close this out?
No, I'm all good.
Yeah? Okay. Hey, really nice doing an episode with you. It's been a second since we've done a two-hander, and I had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, me too. Always good.
Yeah, sick. Alright, well, you wonderful souls, that is the end of another episode. If you like what you heard and you want to get involved, you can find us by searching for TheSeireitei on Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook, and TheSeireitei on Twitter. Each of these platforms will link you to our fantastically deadly Discord family, where you can chat with us about the show, read fanfiction, take part in creative challenges, and talk anything and everything Bleach. Now, Ichigo and Rukia might reap souls, but we are hoping to reap some 5-star reviews, and that is where you come in. Make like our favorite orange-haired protector, and go to iTunes to rate us, and review us, and make us feel like number one. Hey, thanks for that meme, by the way. That was pretty tight. I'm very into that.
It was done by somebody in the server. I had to share it.
Well, let's link that in the show notes too if there's a link, because it's on Twitter, right? Okay,
yes.
Great. Tune in to find out what we mean. Also, to those of you listening on YouTube, don't forget to be like Chad and give us that good thumbs up. We really appreciate it. On the next episode of the podcast, we'll be covering anime episodes 120, Hitsugaya Scatters, The Broken Hyorimaru, and 121, Clash, The Protector versus The Bearer. We'll see you souls then. Till next time, bye!